Hey, thanks so much for joining us for today's Drawing for Adults class. This class is offered as a partnership between the Ann Arbor District Library and the Ann Arbor Art Center. I hope that you have been enjoying our video lessons. Today we are going to be drawing glowing lights, and so I have an example here of a candle that is just radiating light here. So the way that not only the candle glows, but also the way that it kind of emits its light and contrast against a dark background is something that's really interesting. So I'm going to be drawing these candles that you see here using soft pastels. If you don't have soft pastels, you can really use pretty much any medium, especially drawing for today. So the first step, as usual, is just going to be to sketch out whatever you're drawing. Now, it doesn't have to be candles. I recommend just kind of watching this video first, and then if you wanted to do like holiday lights or a glowing lantern or something like that, there's so many different options once you start really thinking about what are some things that glows. Even headlights off of a car could be interesting. So anyway, so now that I've got my sketch, I am going to go ahead and start adding in my soft pastels, and I'm just going to block in the basic colors that I see in the candles, as well as here's a little bit as the base of the flame with the blue and a little pink. And then I'm going to start building in my background. So that kind of glowing candle, like warm color that we see going around our flame is actually not necessarily the flame itself, but it's just the way that the light kind of, I guess, affects the colors around it. So in this case, I am having these candles against a black background, and so the way that the dark flat background kind of affects, or the way the candle affects that dark background is it gives me these warm colors, so oranges and yellows, golds, and maroon, even a little bit in some places. So you can see the way I'm just blocking in all of this. This is just kind of a first layer. It doesn't look super great right now, but it's just my way of getting in the bulk of my colors. So now I'm going to come back in and add in some more color, some more detail, and start defining my spaces a little bit more. So you can see the way that I'm paying a lot of attention to those circles in the background so that it really looks like the flames are glowing. If you notice, I actually am not really adding much color to the flames themselves. The flames themselves are actually just white. And so in order to really make that white look like it's white, I'm actually paying more attention to the colors around that flame in order to really, really highlight and make that white stand out as being as bright as it should be. And then I'm softening up the edges a little bit too of that flame into that kind of round, glowing, warm circle so that it's not super crisp edges. Sometimes you might see that's a little bit crisper on the edges, but flames are very organic in shape. It's literally not a concrete edge. So it's important that we keep that part of it pretty soft. And so from here, I'm building in more of my details in the candles. So I'm really wanting to get the warmth that I'm seeing that's kind of reflected in this just creamy color candle. Because I have it against a dark background, it is making it so that the candles aren't really that white or creamy colored. They're actually looking very yellow, orange even. So I'm gonna keep blending. I'm keeping on, really trying to figure out how to make this background work with the glowing lights and stuff. And I think one of the most important things here, it's not so much about figuring out how to make something look like it's glowing from whatever is glowing, whether it's a headlight, a lantern, a candle, a light, whatever. It's really how does that light affect the surrounding colors. So figuring out how can we really enhance the look of that light by figuring out how does the light change the color? Because what's happening with the way that things are glowing kind of around that flame is that we are seeing that it's actually blocking some of the black that we see. So instead of it just being pitch black in the background, it's blocking us to be able to really get that same kind of black background that we normally would see. So instead of it being black, we're seeing this kind of glowing orangey reddish kind of color come about. And so you can see the way that I'm just putting up more and more detail as I go about this. just so you know, as I'm doing this, I have this on a time-lapse video. So, you're seeing a very much expedited process of what took an hour and a half worth of time in, a less than 10-minute video. So if you're thinking, wow, she does this really fast, I don't. It takes me a while. I'm also doing it digitally, so even an hour and a half for this is still less time than I would expect it for you to take if you were doing this, with actual soft pastels. So anyway, so you can see I'm also adding just a few more final details here to add some melting wax coming off the candles, just to add a little extra added texture. And then finally, just a few more details to add a little bit more contrast, just since I'm still feeling like it's a little flat. But looking at it, especially if I were to take a step back and look at this, it definitely has a nice feel of that kind of glowing light, with the illusion that there are some other lights maybe further away in the background. So, but I didn't draw the candles back there, of course. It's just the idea that they maybe are back there, or some other kind of twinkling lights or something. So I don't know, maybe it's not the best examples. I'm gonna kind of hide some of that a little bit so it's not quite as glowing, but that's all right. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed today's video. Again, you can use whatever materials that you have on hand to do this, as long as they blend pretty well. So markers, for example, probably wouldn't be the best option because those can be a little bit more challenging to draw, but charcoal or colored pencils, graphite even, all of those can work pretty well. Just making sure that whatever subject matter you choose, to really get the best example of how this will look, I do recommend adding in something that has a darker background for a lot of contrast.